Okay guys, today we're going to make sure that we have an understanding of exponents. So when you first learn multiplication, you notice that it is a repetition of addition. Any number that just continually repeats itself is done so as an example of multiplication. So in exponents, it's a way of seeing repeated multiplication. So here it says basic exponent operations can be represented by repeated multiplication. Now, in an exponent, there are parts of an exponent. Those parts we see have names. So here is an example. They're done letters. Don't let letters fool you. Letters just represent numbers. We call them variables, and we will talk more about those as we develop our skills in math. So this little b here, this guy, this is representing the base. So base is represented right here by the b. Now, of course, starting out, you guys are your b is gonna actually be a number, and we'll look at that in just a minute. The n, though, the n's gonna represent what we call the exponent. Now, sometimes we actually hear the word power, but exponent is the term we use, and then even in some countries they call it the indice, which if you watch any math antics, you'll see them use that. Let me put this a little darker for you guys. Well, this means the b is being multiplied by itself in times. Ooh, kind of confusing, right? Just bear with me. Let's look at how that might look in number form. So here we've got a couple examples. The first one has 4 as the base and 3 as the exponent. So what you're looking at is 4 to the 3rd power. There's another way to say that. You actually would say it has a power of 3 or it's cubed. Okay? So what does that mean? Well, if we look back over here and it says this means b multiplied by itself n times, let's replace that b and n with these numbers. So this means 4 multiplied by itself 3 times. So you'll see we see 1, 2, 3. Now here's the multiplication symbol that you guys may or may not be familiar with, but when you see that dot, it actually means to multiply. So when we multiply 4 times 4, we get 16. But we still have this 4 to take care of. So 16 times 4, well, that's where we see our answer there. We see it as 64. Now notice, 4 times 3 is actually 12. Why? Because that's representing addition 3 times, where this exponent represents multiplication 3 times. So here you see it again. We see 1 to the 5th power. Well, that's saying let's take 1 and let's multiply it 5 times. And of course, with that, when you multiply by 1, you're just going to get 1. But if I were adding, I would get what? I would get 5. If I said 1 times 5, I would get 5. Well, that's not what we're looking for. We're not looking for addition, repeated addition, which is multiplication. We are looking to multiply each number. Let's give this one a try. 3 to the 2nd power. Notice this right here. It says when we say an exponent out loud, we call a number with a power of 2. We might call it the second power. But when it's a 2, we actually call it squared. So we would actually say 3 squared. So what is that saying? Well, let's write it out. This means 3 multiplied by itself 2 times. What would that look like? Well, this is what we call expanded form. We're going to write it out what it would look like. It would look like 3 multiplied by itself 2 times. So I do it 2 times. Now this tells me to multiply. So 3 times 3 is actually 9. If we take the exponent and multiply it by the base, we get a wrong answer. We get 6. Why? Because this is addition, and we don't want addition. Okay, so down below you're going to try some of these yourself, and feel free as you're working to color in, make this nice and pretty if you like. If you just want to move on, you're welcome to. And we want to actually continue to simplify these expressions. That actually means you're going to solve them. You're going to actually make them in the simplest form possible, which means you're going to make them a numeric form. So what I suggest is you actually write out the expanded form. So this is 2 5 times. Not 2 times 5, but I'm going to multiply 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. Now sometimes you can group these to make it a little easier for yourself. So here I've got 4 times 8, which equals 32. So my simplified expression is 32. Now, a couple of side notes we have over here. Any number to the 0 power is 1. If I have 5 to the 0 power, it equals 1. Any number. Any number to the blank power is itself. Any number to the first power is itself. So if I have 5 to the first power, that's saying I have 1 5. So therefore I just have 5. And then powers of 10 will only contain 1s and 0s. So if you have the power of 10, you would be always doing it 10 times. Now down below, we're not going to really focus on this part too much right now, but we can get to that in the future. So if you'll fill in your exponent notes page and place that in your notebook, you'll be ready to move on to the next step. Make sure you complete all 3 sections here at the bottom.